Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to the Woo Curious podcast. Your map to the mystical, your key to the sacred, and your guide back home to yourself. I'm Eileen, a writer, a spiritual coach, energy healer, and slow living witch. This podcast is your invitation to explore a world where the mundane and the sacred intertwine. It's a haven for those ready to take the first steps into the realms of magic and mystery, providing a safe space for you to embark on your own enchanted journey towards healing and self-discovery. Here, I'll unveil the whispers of the mystical, the rituals often hidden in plain sight, and I'll engage in sacred conversation intended to stir your soul and lead you back into your power. I'm all about demystifying woo and witchcraft. So, whether you're a seasoned seeker or simply woo curious, I'm so delighted you've decided to join me on this journey. Let's make magic. Hello, and welcome back, Woo Crew, to another episode of the Woo Curious podcast. I am your host, Eileen, and today is a solo episode. I was sitting here pondering what it was I wanted to come into this space and speak to you about. But as I am recording this, we are halfway through the free week called Shine that I offered last week by the time you're listening to this, that ran from June 17th to June 20th. And it's a guided journey to step into your authenticity, to help you step into your authenticity. And so it's been a blend of teaching and guided visualizations, which is where my magic lies, if I being open and honest, which is what this authenticity piece is all about. And it's a big theme right now as we step into the summer months. We just had the summer solstice happen last week on Thursday, June 20th. We had a big full moon following hot on its heels on June 21st. And so we're really feeling this shift of energies. And so I wanted to talk about this today. I wanted to talk a little bit about the summer solstice, Midsummer, as it's called in the Wheel of the Year, or you might hear it called Litha. Litha is a more modern pagan term that's been applied to the summer solstice. Midsummer is an older term from Europe, where in a lot of those cultures, including the Celtic calendar, this summer solstice day marks the middle of the season of summer. And the season of summer in the Celtic calendar is called Beltane or Beltana, and runs from May 1st through to Lunasa, which is August 1st. So however you think about it, whether it's the beginning of summer, which here in Calgary, as I record this 2 days before the solstice, it's freezing. We had frost on the outskirts of the city last night. It's not warm. It does not feel like summer. But regardless, the days are really long. We're leading up to that sun stands still 3 days in a row, the 19th, 20th, and 21st this year, where by all appearances, the sun rises and sets at the exact same point on the horizon. It does the same thing at Yule, which is the winter solstice. And that's what solstice means. It means sun stands still. So we've got lots of light. We've got lots of kind of bright, buzzy energy. I don't know about you, but sleeping has been tricky, especially the further north you are in the hemisphere. Obviously, what I'm speaking to right now applies to the northern hemisphere. If you're in the southern hemisphere, you're approaching that darkest, longest night of the year. But in this northern hemisphere where I'm speaking from, there's a lot of energy. There's a lot of light. It's a bit tough to sleep. We're only getting about 4 or 5 hours of full dark here where I'm speaking to you from, and I've been finding that it's impacted my energy in some ways that are fun, in some ways that are like, I need an eye mask to sleep, which is okay. It's totally okay. The summer solstice is a time of celebration for many reasons, but for me personally, it's a really sweet moment because it marks the very first ceremony that I ever held for the Wheel of the Year ceremonies. I will have hosted my 3rd summer solstice ceremony by the time that you're listening to this. And so it's really kind of a celebration or a birthday moment. I just had my witch-anniversary about a week and a half ago, but this moment is another really important moment in my journey. And so just dropping that there, that it's really special to have sat in circle and ceremony with many of you listening over the course of the last 2 years, and being able to witness the impact that slowing down and syncing up with the energies of the seasons have had on so many of your lives. I hear such lovely things from so many of you about the impact that slowing down has for you, the way that it nourishes you, the way that it feels right. And I know my own personal experience is that the cyclical energies of the seasons are the best, easiest, most resonant permission slip to ebb and flow myself. So, a little bit about the summer solstice, because I think it's fun to learn, and I hope you do too. This, as I mentioned, is considered to be midsummer on the Celtic calendar, the longest day of the year. And so, some of the mythology around this day is that at this point in the year, the Oak King and the Holly King battle once again. They battled at Yule and they're battling again. And this time it is the Holly King that wins. And so from this day forward, from the 20th onwards, our days get a little bit shorter because the Oak King rules the day and the Holly King rules the night. And so the days get a little bit shorter as the Holly King regains his territory until Yule, when the tides are reversed. It is really a celebration associated with the light. It's all about being out and seen in the world. So if we're thinking on a smaller cyclical level of our bodies or the lunar cycle, this is like ovulation energy. This is like full moon energy. So it is all about self-expression. It is all about sharing your light and shining. And that is where I downloaded the idea for last week's live offering from. Speaking of which, if you are interested in dropping into that training, into those guided visualizations, it is not too late to sign up to get the replays. They'll be up until the end of this week. So they'll be up until June 28th at midnight, which actually probably means June 29th in the morning when I wake up. But they'll be available to you to watch those replays there. So if you're at all curious, I'd encourage you to sign up and go and give those replays a watch. So I want you to think, as we sit here in this space of turning into summer, what your light is in this world. You know, as women especially, we are really, really good at holding each other up, at seeing each other's brilliance, at stepping aside so that other people can shine. And it's less comfortable for us to own our own brilliance, to step up and be seen and take center stage, and to stand in our full authentic light. And I spoke to this last week as I chatted about why it can be so hard, and there's a multi-layered reason. One is social conditioning. You know, to be a good girl or to be a good woman is to be self-sacrificing, is to put other people's needs first, is to stay small, is to, you know, not take up too much room, not steal the show. You know, a lot of these pieces are here when we think about stepping into our authenticity. It can make us uncomfortable because we've been conditioned through our whole lives not to. Other pieces that make it hard or uncomfortable, we can go back to the witch wound, and I've done more than one episode on this ancestral wound, but this is the piece where it actually was unsafe for women for a lot of years, and remains so in many places in the world, to show up and be seen and be visible and be vocal and have opinions, because there was real threat of persecution. And so that memory, that history lives in your DNA, lives in your bones, and of course it lives in society. It's that ripple down or trickle down effect from those years is part of what we see with the patriarchy and capitalism and the way that women are allowed to move in society today in ways that keep other people comfortable. And then we can go all the way back to, really our primitive neurobiology. And we see here that the threat or the fear of showing up in our full authentic selves and being rejected because maybe we're too weird, we're too much. A lot of women get that when they are in their full authenticity, when they are expressing themselves and their whole range of emotions and their whole range of opinions, we often get labeled as too much. And that label can mean that we feel rejected or not a part of the group. And our brains are designed to keep us safe. And part of being safe as a human is belonging to a group. And so we've got this kind of trifecta of reasons that standing in our authenticity and showing up authentically feels uncomfortable, feels scary. And it genuinely can be scary. And so I'd love to invite you, as we step into these summer energies, to consider who your authentic self is. And one layer deeper, because it's easy to get stuck here with, my authentic self is kind and compassionate, and she's funny, and she helps other people, and all of these things that feel safe and easy, we start to label. But I'd love for you to go one step deeper and really get into what makes you brilliant. And how are you going to show up and share your brilliant light this summer? Because the world needs you. It needs all of you. It needs your shine and your shimmer. It needs your sparkle. It needs you because it needs each of us in our full authenticity so that we can create a world that is shinier and shimmerier and more compassionate and kind and open, in which there is space for everyone to be who they came here to be, instead of masking, instead of hiding, instead of pretending to be people that we are not. And again, this really comes into play when we think about belonging to groups. I told the story last week during Shine about the time I was chosen at a high school dance to get up for a competition. It was a Halloween dance, and I think the movie Scream had recently come out. And the competition was to scream. I think there were about 8 of us, all girls, who were picked randomly by the DJ, and I could not believe my luck. I felt like I never got picked for these things, so I was ecstatic when I got picked to go up and take my turn at a scream, and the winner would win by the loudest cheering and clapping. And there was a part of me that probably knew deep down that I was not likely to win, because I was not popular, and of course a clapping contest amongst teenagers is going to just be a popularity contest. But I thought maybe I had a clever way to attract some enthusiasm for me, for my scream. And so rather than simply scream when my turn came, I screamed and I fell to the floor in a dead faint. At least that was what was happening in my mind. And once I was down there, wished that the floor could open up and just swallow me, because the DJ, into the dead silence of no clapping in the entire gymnasium, said something along the lines of, "Okay then, what was that?" And I wanted to die. I was mortified. Even my friends didn't clap, because to clap would be to separate themselves from the group as well, right? These desires to belong and to fit in and to be liked, they run deep, deep in our biology, not just in people-pleasing women who also have that added layer of like, if I am liked, I am worthy and I am loved. And I tell this story just as an example of how difficult it can be to show up and shine in your authenticity, because you don't want to be Eileen on the gym floor in the dead silence where you could hear a pin drop amongst the gymnasium full of teenagers. It's not where any of us want to be. So how do you find the courage to tap into your authenticity? And how do you even know who your authentic self is when you've lived in this society and you're wearing the masks and desiring the things that you're being advertised and going through all of the motions that your brain has subconsciously ingested over the years to tell you that, yes, this is how I should move and show up in the world in order to be successful, be liked, be loved, be all of that worthiness piece comes in. How do we get past that? And so, again, if this is piquing your interest, I encourage you to go catch the replays of Shine, because part of getting past this, and even if you just go into those replays to watch or to go through the guided visualization pieces, part of how we get past this is we come home to ourselves. We come home to our bodies. We come home to our parts. We return to our inner children because they know how to be authentic. They know who they are. They really do. And we can connect back into that and learn from them. And we practice. And we seek out people who support us and make us feel safe in expressing our authenticity, in showing up as our whole selves. I think that women's circles are an incredible place for this. It's part of the reason that I love holding the Wheel of the Year ceremonies. It's part of the reason I keep them priced so low so that they're not prohibitive for anybody to join, whether online or in person. It's also part of the reason that I love to sit with women in that more intimate space of one-on-one work, to witness them and to reflect back that they're weird, they're too much. All of those things that feel so uniquely us are shared. Your weird is wonderful, and it's probably not even that weird. But we have been hiding ourselves for so long, even from ourselves, that sometimes it takes, a lot of time, a lot of tending, and a lot of careful excavation to find her underneath capitalism and the material desires we think we have, and underneath the male gaze and the things we think we need to do or say or be, or how we should dress or act or shave our bodies in order to be desirable. Underneath the fear of persecution and ostracization. And what I love and what I'm seeing so much more of is that there is this rising tide of women who are ready to start being seen. They're ready to start showing up and shining and reconnecting with themselves. And if this is you and this work feels like it would be nurturing for you, I do have space, at least at the time of recording this, for a few more souls to join me inside of Rekindled, which is a 6-month journey. And it's 6 months because I don't believe in quick fixes. Yes, sometimes we get big breakthroughs, and I think that can certainly happen and is much more likely to happen in some sort of supported environment than if we're going it alone. But it does take time, and it takes space for integration. And as we move into the next 6 months of the Gregorian year, wouldn't it be lovely to set yourself up for confidence and transformation and presence and joy, so that when we start the new calendar year, oh my gosh, yes, I just referenced 2025, but that's why it's 6 months long, is so that you can get that deep healing, that deep transformation, and so that it can stick. When we think about the seasons and the cyclicality of things, I'm thinking about one client right now who started with me 2.5 months ago and started off in a very dark place. By the end of that first month was feeling like everything had shifted. She was elated. She was happy. She felt like everything was on the up and it was going to be great from here on out. And then it cycled. And the end of that next month was a bit harder. And then 2 weeks later, she was coming back up out of it. And so it takes a few cycles. It takes a few times of these ups and downs, these waves, and being held through and given the tools to navigate those dips when they happen. And then having somebody there cheering you on and going deeper or broader when those ups happen, those peaks. If the program was only 3 months long, I would have been leaving her just as she was beginning to come back out of a dip, and instead we have a full more 3 months to deepen, to create safety for her nervous system, to uncover what it is underneath that's causing the ups and the downs. And it's just magical. So if you are on Shine, you'll know that at this point my plan is to close the doors to one-on-one with me at the end of this week, and to keep them closed for an indefinite amount of time, at least over the summer, but an indefinite amount of time. I'm not sure what it will look like when it returns. And that feels really scary to say out loud, but it feels really right. Part of the beauty of this space is that over the summer months, when things are busy and you're traveling and out of town and life gets busy in the summer, is that a lot of the work we do happens with that Voxer or that WhatsApp support, Monday to Friday, voice note or typing, if you prefer typing, support, so that in those moments where you need me, you have me. And then the remote healing work that I do as well, which happens while you go about your day. And I cannot speak enough about how potent these sessions can be. I've had people drop into only the remote healing and really be blown away by the depth of the transformation that exists there. If it feels better to space out the one-on-one sessions while you're in summer and push them to the fall, great, there's flexibility. So if you're curious, please hop into a peek through the portal call with me. And I'd love to chat with you about the details, to connect with you where you're at, to hear about your journey, and to make a decision together about whether working together more closely is aligned for you or not. All right, I'm going to wrap it up there. Happy summer solstice blessings to you. Thank you for listening. Please don't hesitate to reach out and let me know what landed for you this episode. And I'd love to hear what the brilliance is that you're going to share with the world this summer. What is your brightness? What is your shine? What is your gift? I want to hear. Come find me over on Instagram at @IamEileenMarch. And if you liked this episode, please leave a rating. If you haven't left a review yet, I would be so delighted to hear from you. It really, really helps when you rate, review, and share this podcast with anybody that you think might enjoy it. Spread the word so that this work can ripple out into the world and create the wave of change that we so desperately need as things feel so dark and heavy around us. All right, that's all for now. Keep on shining, Woo Crew.